Queridos amigos de Revista Lemas, para Librerías Gandhi, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos este día en YouTube. Estoy muy emocionada, muy contenta, nerviosa, porque voy a entrevistar en inglés a la escritora Marianne Cronin. Estoy muy emocionada porque se está haciendo un lanzamiento tremendo de este libro, Los 100 años de Lenni y Margot. Es una novela de verdad que me conmovió mucho, que por ahí me hizo llorar un par de veces, debo de confesar, y que es una historia muy entrañable, muy bonita. Entonces tenemos a Marianne aquí, le voy a hacer varias preguntas, va a ser en inglés, pero vamos a tener aquí los títulos. Y bueno, pues yo los invito a que se queden a esta conversación sobre libros. Les voy a dar una pequeñísima introducción sobre el libro, porque en esta historia, que es una historia de amistad, Lenni, y no les estoy spoileando nada, porque desde el primer capítulo se llama Terminal. Lenni tiene una enfermedad terminal, tiene 17 años y está en un hospital. Y se hace amiga entrañable de Margot, que tiene 83 años. Entre las dos tienen 100 y deciden crear una pintura, una obra de arte por cada uno de los 100 años de vida que ellas tienen. Es una historia muy bonita sobre la amistad, sobre las memorias, pero creo también sobre todo sobre el carpe diem, el vivir cada día, aprovechar cada día como si fuera el último. Y ahora sí, vamos a empezar esta conversación riquísima con la autora, con Marianne Cronin. Marianne, I'm so happy to be here. I'm nervous. I love the book.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and for the interview. And I am so surprised at how young you are and how wise you are at the same time, because I love all the messages in the book. And this is your first novel, and you already have a big launching in 23 countries, like at the same time. They already sold the rights for the movie, so there's a movie coming up. And I'm so amazed of your age and all of this that happened suddenly. How do you feel about that?
Oh, thank you. It has just completely blown me away. When I was writing the book, I didn't really let myself imagine it would ever get published. So I think to have it published in different languages is just so exciting. And the idea of a film, again, just completely kind of blows my mind. I find it really hard to take it in, I think. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Wow. How, because you are very young, so I want to know, how did you decide that you wanted to become a writer?
Oh, thank you. I have one of those faces that looks younger, I think, than I am. Like if I buy wine, they always ask me for my for my ID. So I've always wanted to be a writer, and I wrote my first book when I was about 17, and it was terrible. It was about ghosts that fell in love. And ever since then, I've just always kind of started novels and then put them to side or forgotten about them. But with Lenni and Margot, when Lenni's voice kind of came to me, I just kept writing, and it was the first time that I just kept going and going and going. And it was actually kind of a lot of fun. Like a lot of the time when you're trying to write, you can be like, oh, what's going to happen next? But with Lenni, it just felt like I kind of knew exactly how it would end the minute I started writing. So it was a really fun process.
Wow. That's very interesting how you say that you just followed Lenni's voice, because this character is so special. I mean, she's 17, but she's incredibly curious and adventurous, and she has a very fresh voice, like curious for life, and it's such a bittersweet paradox, actually, that she has a terminal illness, but she is so alive and so curious about life. So how did you think or listen to this voice that you just say that you just followed her voice? How this character came up to you?
Yeah, it was quite an interesting time in my own life. So I started writing when I was 22, and I'd been to the doctors just for a kind of checkup, and they found that my heart was beating way too fast, and so they sent me to hospital and to appointments, and I saw a lot of doctors that year. And I think because I was only 22 at the time, I got really scared, and I thought, oh my goodness, what's going on with my heart, and what if there's something really wrong with it? And that was kind of what got me thinking, what would it be like to be young and also know that you were going to die? And so Lenny's voice really came out of my own fear of what was happening to me at that time. And it sounds kind of spooky, but it really felt like she came to visit me. I was writing an assignment for my degree, and I was supposed to be writing this assignment, and all I could think about was just this idea of this character in the hospital, and I just started writing and found that I sort of couldn't stop myself. And my friends and family, now they've read the book, a lot of them have said there's like little bits of me in Lenny. She's a lot more cheeky, and a lot more she gets into more trouble than I do, and she's so much braver, but there's definitely like little bits.
Wow. But you are all right now, right?
Yes, yeah, I have a minor heart condition, which is just something that I'll just have for the rest of my life. But very lucky that it wasn't anything more serious.
Okay. I'm so glad to hear that. But it's so amazing that this character inspires us so much. I mean, even the writer, I'm surprised to know that even the writer says that this character is braver than me. She has so many fun stories and conversations, and yeah, she's getting into trouble, but also inspired another character, another person to live life at its fullest, who is Margot.
Mm-hmm.
And Margot, she's 83. She has many memories, but she also has lived from a very, I would say, like a heart-centered place. How would you describe Margot?
Yeah, that's a lovely way to describe Margot. I really like that. I think she's sorry, she's a bit of a rebel. She is wise and she's quite gentle. So while Lenny is a little bit chaotic and a little bit frantic, Margot has a kind of calming, quite soothing effect on Lenny. But she's really brave, and I think over the years that she's lived, she's really learned to accept herself, and she's learned to accept who she is, who she loves, what she believes in, and what she's willing to kind of fight for. And when we meet her, so obviously we go back into Margot's memories, and when we meet Margot, she's kind of done everything that she's supposed to do. She's married and she has a baby and she has a house and all of those things that she feels like she's meant to have. And then when that all falls apart for her when she's only in her early 20s, she has to start again and she has to reinvent herself. And she moves to London and she learns so many things, gets herself into a little bit of trouble too. And I think from those years of reinventing herself, she's got this real kindness to her, and she has so much time and so much patience for Lenny.
Wow, that's true. And you know that I read, I finished your book yesterday morning, but it kind of haunted me because I haven't stopped thinking about, like, there are different layers of the book. So in the first layer, I thought it was a book about friendship. And I think that's the value of the book. Like, you would say this is true friendship between a 17-year-old and an old lady of 83. But I think that is also, there's another layer for me that was, I think that it's a book about unconditional love. Because there are other characters in the meanwhile, in their lives, such as Lenny's father, or, the first and second husband of Margot. You just mentioned that her life fell apart and she had to reinvent herself, and they let them go, And I felt, I don't want to spoil the story, but really, tienen que leer la historia. But I mean, like, to me, it was, this is the true sense, you know, of true love, to let someone go either through death or just because it's their time to go. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think that was one of the themes that I didn't set out for the book. I didn't intend. And then as I was writing these characters and the way that they meet and the way that they part, kind of fell into this kind of pattern of, you know, loving someone and setting them free. And I think there's so much kind of beauty and sadness in setting someone free and saying, like, I love you, but I will, this is where I leave you. And I think I cried a lot when I wrote the book, which sounds strange because I was in control of what was happening. But yeah, I cried quite a lot at some of those partings because I think, like you said, there's so much love in those acts that can sometimes seem kind of sad or even cruel, but when you go back and look, there's a lot of love there.
Wow. Yeah, you can feel that. We can feel that as readers. Absolutely, we can feel that. And also another part that I really loved is that Lenni and Margot, they get to meet. Well, they meet like in a first very funny moment, but then they meet in this art workshop at the hospital, and it's amazing because if you had like some friends or relatives at the hospital, the time goes so slowly and so differently from the outside rush. But in the hospital, it becomes like an amazing place for them to create. And I was thinking, you know, this idea of the art as a form of healing, and also for them the opportunity to paint 100 paintings, you know, to let the world know who they were, and to transcend in a way and to leave a mark in the world. And you are a writer, and you are also like living what the book says, you know, just leaving your mark in the world. And what do you think about art here in the story as a healing form of living?
Yeah, I think art is such a powerful thing for healing. And I think it's something that we're seeing, especially now in these times with people in lockdown and painting and putting pictures in the windows. And I think there's something about art that's really nice because it takes you away from the screen. So to do something with your hands and to not be looking at the TV or listening to the news or anything like that, I think it's such a lovely escape. And I think for Lenni and Margot, the hospital, like you said, it can be so boring to be in a hospital, and time just kind of stretches out when you're by yourself in a hospital. And so I think the art in that art class gives them this opportunity for fun, for experimentation, and for self-expression. But also just to stop thinking about where they are and what's happening to them, and to kind of dive into these memories and colors and textures and patterns and things that will, you know, that they're trying to leave their mark on the world. And, you know, it's kind of their dream that they'll be, you know, shown one day in an exhibition. And, you know, I don't want to give any spoilers, so I won't say if that happens or not. But I think for them, it's just this lovely way of saying, we were here and these were the lives that we lived. And I think art is such a lovely way for them to do that.
Wow. Yes. Yes. Also, I love this idea of carpe diem, of living life to its fullest, living a life of magic, because that's something that Lenni puts always in the table, magic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for Lenni, it's about finding those little moments wherever she can find them, because obviously she's in the hospital, she's on her own, and she loves to kind of sneak around and meet other people, and, you know, she gets involved in lots of other characters' lives. And I think for her, those little moments of magic are what keeps her going, you know, like meeting someone who knows someone else or getting involved in someone's story. And I think even though Lenni can't leave the hospital, physically, when Margot tells her all those stories, she gets to leave the hospital mentally, and so she gets to experience all the wonderful and sad moments that Margot has lived. Lenni gets to live them too, and I think that's one of the things that she really values in Margot's friendship.
Wow. You just mentioned lockdown also as a moment a challenging moment for all of us, obviously, and probably was very boring for some people. But I mean, were you creating something new during this lockdown? What did you do?
I would love to say I've written an incredible book, but I'm still kind of in the early stages of working on my second novel. But my kind of, it's a long time. I took up cross stitch, so I taught myself how to do cross stitch just for something to do. And in the UK, a lot of people put rainbows up in their window to say thank you to the National Health Service. So we've done rainbow paintings in the windows, and when children go on walks, they like to do a rainbow watch, so they sort of see all the rainbows on the street, which has been lovely. And I think it's those little, again, it's always about the little moments, I think, that just give you a little bit of joy during this kind of crazy time that we're all living through.
Wow, yeah, it's all about the little moments. You said it beautifully. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your book. I mean, I already recommended it to a couple of people.
Thank you.
And I just finished it yesterday, and then I was hoping that this interview, when it's out, just tell everybody about the book. And I want to ask you, since this is going to the movies, to a film, do you already know the actresses that will play Margot and Lenni?
I'm afraid I don't. It's still at the very, very early stages, but even the thought of it becoming a film, I am so excited. I kind of sort of, I don't know what to say about it. But yeah, I have kind of, whenever anyone asks me, I always say Maggie Smith from Downton Abbey is kind of my dream Margot, just in case she ever hears one of these interviews and wants to be a part of it. So you never know.
Lovely. That would be lovely. Wow. Wow. And last but not least, this book is launching in Latin America. It has a beautiful translation. Do you want to send a message for your readers in Latin America or your readers in Spanish?
Oh, I would love to. I wish I could do this in Spanish, but I'll have to do it in English.
You don't have
but hello, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for welcoming Lenni and Margot into your bookshelves and hopefully into your hearts. It means the world to me that Lenni and Margot are getting to travel the world and meet everyone. And please get in touch. Let me know what you thought of the book. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and I love hearing from readers, and I love hearing what you thought, what you loved, what you didn't. Hopefully not too much of that. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for reading. It means the absolute world to me.
Thank you so much. So I just want to end this interview saying thank you from the bottom of my heart for this story. Incredibly wise and touching and loving, and it makes me remember the important things in life, So thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Muy bien, amigos de Lemas. Ha sido un placer leer este libro, que en realidad es una novela larga, pero miren, se les va a ir como agua, va muy suavecita. Todas las aventuras que va viviendo Lenni, esta chica de 17 años en el hospital, todas sus travesuras, pues las vas viviendo junto con ella. Entonces, esta idea que mencionábamos ahora en la entrevista del carpe diem, de vivir cada día con magia, con los pequeños momentos, creando cosas importantes, pues creo que un poco la enseñanza de este libro es que no hay que esperar a que te digan tienes una enfermedad terminal. Es un libro sobre la muerte, pero creo que es un libro sobre todo sobre la vida, sobre vivir de manera mágica, intensa y bueno, pues los libros nos ayudan a eso también. Entonces, sigamos conversando sobre libros. Aquí abajo les vamos a dejar en la caja de descripción el link para que compren el libro de los 100 años de Lenni y Margot Y también va a estar el link a nuestra revista Lee Más, que es nuestra revista cultural, para que la compren, para que la revisen, para que sigamos conversando. En la campanita roja se activa la suscripción. Por favor, les pedimos que se suscriban. Y pues aquí estuvo Fátima López para la revista Lee Más de Librerías Gandhi. Muchísimas gracias. Hasta la próxima.